In today's episode, we're going to cover the daily choice that sellers get to make. Lest you think some of this is beyond your control, it isn't. Whether or not your house sells is almost entirely up to you. You want to find out what I'm talking about? Stick around for this episode. Hi, and welcome to Talking Realty, the go-to podcast for home sellers everywhere who want to save more money, save time, and avoid a whole bunch of headaches. Whether you're selling a flip, a new build, an investment property, or the place you call home, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Glen Whitten, 20-year realtor and founder of the Ohio Property Group, where we help home sellers get more out of their property when they sell. Most home sellers hate the idea of paying giant commissions to realtors. Well, at the Ohio Property Group, we do all the same things as those other realtors, but instead of charging a traditional giant commission, we charge a low flat fee that's not based on the price of your home. So our sellers save thousands of dollars and get much better results. To learn more, head over to talkingrealty.com, where you can pick up our free newsletter, any of our many free seller tools to help you on your journey. And if you haven't already, please rate and review and subscribe to the Talking Realty podcast so you never miss a thing. Okay, let's get to it. So today's episode is about office truth number 7. Drum roll, please. Time or money, seller's daily choice. All right, this is kind of an esoteric one, I get that, but we talk a lot about the timeline versus bottom line priority. And that's a qualifying question we'll ask sellers, particularly in the beginning. And then again, if they start to get a little antsy, because as they, the last few years, we've seen some craziness. During the pandemic, it just didn't seem to matter what you were selling or how much you were asking. You were going to get more. And unfortunately, it kind of set an unrealistic expectation. I think it's starting to come around now, but it was a little crazy there for a while. 2022 was a tough time because we spent a lot of time with this conversation. This is, truth number 1 off the market never lies. Boy, that one got stamped on just about every conversation we had, because the market was fluctuating and, we just had to roll with it and keep telling the truth. So the question we ask is, what's more important, seller? Is it time? Is it your timeline or your bottom line? And they're always going to say, oh, both. We need both. Well, you can't have both. Sometimes you can have both. If you listen to me and do everything I tell you, you can probably get both. But if you had to choose, gun to your head, would you say it's more important that you sell by a certain date or that you sell for a certain amount, just in general? And most of them would say, look, regardless of what it sells for, we got to sell. Or the option is, I don't care how long it takes, I need this amount of money. Okay, those are two very different marketing approaches, just FYI. So if you're in a hurry, i.e. your timeline is the overriding factor, that's a different approach. We would probably market it a little differently, and we would certainly price it a little differently. But if your bottom line is your choice, then we're going to have to really, first of all, dig in and see what's the gap between what the market is saying right now and what you're asking. And I would probably get a little personal with that seller to say, hey, what's driving that number? If the number is driven from a financial hardship, okay, then I'm right there in the boat with you and we will figure out how to get you that number. It may take us a while, but I can get on with this. Okay. If it's, well, we need this much out of our house because we're trying to buy this other house, at that point, I'm going to say, look, if you're trying to buy another property that is also being marketed for sale or that is for sale, whether it's private or public, your timeline is actually going to be driving the bus. You think it's your bottom line, but it's going to be your timeline. So we have to just keep pulling people back to reality. And so that's where this came from. So daily choice, every day, seller, every day you wake up and you get to decide, what do I want to do today? Do I want to keep trying this price or do I want to adjust and try to get it sold today? Because look, you've heard me talk about shooting the messenger. Well, this is a perfect example. People just get mad at me. I mean, in many ways, thank God we are a virtual real estate company, because I'm sure I probably would have been punched at least once by now, with some of this advice that I can dispense. And I am not a BSer. I'm a truth teller. So if you ask me a question, sometimes if I know it's going to suck, I will say, are you sure? Like, are you really sure you want my answer for this? And many times they will say, yes, go ahead. But at least they're braced for it. Sometimes they say, you know what? No, I get it. Like, let's just move on. But truth number one, market never lies. Truth number two, if it's not selling, it's overpriced. Right? These things never change. These are constants in my world. And if you can't tell, having listened to a few of these episodes, this is a daily topic. But this is just another spin on it. I have no problems with an overpriced house. None at all. I have a problem with a seller who blames me or any realtor, frankly, for an overpriced property that's not selling. Okay, that's where I take a little bit of issue. Because here's the thing, when you list your property with a realtor, let's not talk about what you are going to pay because you chose traditional versus somebody like me. You guys have heard some of that, and you'll probably hear more of it. But when you list with us, let's just limit it to me. We solve 2 of the 3 things you need to get to the finish line. Your goal is to get from not on the market to sold and paid. Okay, so that's where you're headed. You need 3 things to get there. You need marketing. I can do that. You need skilled negotiation. And frankly, even with crappy negotiation, you can still get there. It's just a lot harder and frankly, a lot more expensive. So only the rich can afford poor negotiations. That's it. That's all there is to that. So if you're really wealthy, go ahead and hire somebody and overpay them and don't check their experience or track record, because that's an often missed piece of the puzzle. So marketing, skilled negotiation, those are 2 things we can bring to the table. The third thing is it has to be the right price, because as we proved a few episodes ago in my tale of three listings, it doesn't matter how well you're prepped if you're overpriced. It will help, but poor pricing cannot overcome, or perfect prep cannot overcome poor pricing. So these are things that get talked about a lot because they come up a lot. So I don't control the price. No realtor does, because in order to change or set a price on a listing, unless you own it, you need the seller's consent. You need it in writing. Like, I can't even lower your price without a written consent. I have to have something from you that proves that you want me to lower your price. And then when we ultimately go to sell it, you have to sign that too, because it's your property. You have to sign for the price that we're selling it for. All right, so I take care of marketing. I take care of skilled negotiation. You handle the price. So if you're going to come at me about your house not selling, let's make sure we've checked both of these boxes. So have I properly marketed your home? Well, let me ask you 2 questions. Do you have a sign? Yes, you probably do. If it fell over, you should go put it back up. Number 2, way more important than the sign, but still important. The sign's still important, but this is way more important. Are you in the multiple listing service and on hundreds of websites that I'm going to put you on? Okay, if the answer to both of those is yes, then check. Marketing is done, and I can prove it to you. I won't take you down that rabbit hole, but previous episodes we've talked about, views and clicks and saves and all that fun stuff. I can scientifically prove to you that your property is being seen by the market. Okay, number 1. Hey, folks, if you're a listener of any length of time, you already know that we do not advertise at the Ohio Property Group. We rely on our content and mostly word of mouth and people, talking to one another and telling them all about what we do. This podcast is no exception. We do not have a marketing budget or a marketing plan, for that matter, for this podcast. We just put it out there and hope that it takes off. We're going to let the audience decide whether or not we're successful. So if you found or find any of this content valuable, please don't keep it to yourself. Please share it. Please take a few seconds and rate and maybe even review the podcast. I would consider it a personal favor. Please pay it forward and let's spread the word. Thanks. Back to your program. Number 2, skilled negotiations. Well, if I don't have an offer to negotiate, well, then you're not really going to know. But if I've gotten 5 offers and somehow I've screwed the pooch and cost you all 5 of those offers, yes, you should fire me. because then it's my fault. But assuming that either I didn't get any offers and I can't make a buyer make an offer, I can, let me quick side quest here. I get sellers sometimes will get a showing or two, and then they're hounding me. Did you follow up? Hey, did you follow up? Hey, did you follow up? Yes, I followed up. Of course I followed up. I mean, who's going to not follow up? I followed up. I follow up every day. This is how my system works. I follow up with every showing for 5 days. That's it. Once a day, 5 days. And I don't even like going that long, but if I don't tell my seller I did it 5 times, most of them are not happy with me. So if this was Glen's house, I'll tell you right now, I probably wouldn't follow up at all, except to say, do you have any questions? That's it. You got anything for me? Because here's the thing. No offer is enough feedback for me. That's enough. I don't need any more feedback than no offer. Now, just on the off chance the offer got lost on its way to me, I'll just ask if they have any questions. And okay, yeah, I sent you an offer. Oh, okay. Well, then we should probably track it down. Outside of that, I don't think we need it. And going back to truth number 2, if it's not selling, it's overpriced. We talked about whether, so what if your feedback says you got stinky carpet? So what if it's I don't like the neighborhood, I don't like whatever. It's all price. It's all price. Okay. So you, seller, you control that all day, every day. You control that. And you are the one deciding to keep the property on the market, because that's factor number 3, is the right price. No amount of marketing, no amount of skilled negotiation can overcome an overpriced property. So in my humble opinion, you can be upset if nobody knows about your property, if the marketing is crappy. Okay. But we talked about MLS sign, you're good. You can be upset if I've screwed up the negotiations somehow, but that is a rare day, folks. But the price, I'm not going to be mad at you. So this is going to be our deal. I'll cover the marketing. I'll cover the negotiation. You can't be mad at me. And I promise not to get mad at you for keeping your price too high. How's that? The deal? Do we have a deal? Because if we have a deal and you're in Ohio, you should get on my website and list your house with me right now, unless you're already listed with another broker. I don't want to cross any signs here and get myself in trouble. Anyway, so even if it has other problems, if it's hard to show, we talked about friction a while back. If it has friction, if it's got bad photos or no photos, I've had some that just have a street photo and that's it. Like I've literally had to use the Google Street View before, just as a temporary measure. If it was priced right, didn't matter. So taking this to an extreme, that regardless of the marketing, regardless of my skilled negotiation, I can prove to you that price is the number one factor, is because, as you probably heard me say before, I've written this many times. If I priced it for $1, how long would it take to sell? Okay. So that's the argument ender as far as I'm concerned, because if you priced it low enough, in spite of all these other things that could be wrong, it will sell. So seller, the point I'm making is that every single day you wake up, you get to choose your timeline versus your bottom line. In many cases, you can't choose both. You have to pick one. It's more important that I get this price. No problem, Glenn. Let's ride it another day or two, another week, another month. I don't care. I am with you until it sells. That's how our system works. I'm not going anywhere. And then when you want to adjust, we will adjust. We can refresh photos. We can change the marketing up. We can do so much that way, but it's only going to be so much without the right price. So I like to do those things, but I like to do them in conjunction with a price change. So I love reintroducing a property at a new price. I can't change the days on market, but I promise you it won't. If you get it priced right, it won't matter. Those things won't matter. So, but we've had sellers in the past, you've heard me mention them before, that have really wanted a specific price and told me they were going to get it. Sometimes it took months, sometimes it took years, literal years to get those prices, but they got them because they were patient and they understood that buyers don't care what sign is in your yard. I don't know if that makes sense, but so calling your realtor and firing them because your overpriced house isn't selling is kind of like firing your doctor because you're overweight and you eat at McDonald's 4 times a day. I mean, yes. I mean, your doctor can only do so much. I mean, there's only so much Lipitor in the world to overcome that issue. So if you're going to fire your realtor, make sure it's based on one of those other 2 things. Maybe their marketing isn't right, or maybe their bad communication, or, I mean, if they're not returning phone calls, don't do it because it's not selling. If you want to change horses, that's fine. But I promise you the next horse, unless you change the price, is going to look an awful lot like the last one a few weeks into this process. Buyers do not care. I guess that's what I meant by that. Buyers don't care what color sign is in your yard. No buyer has ever said, I'm going to buy that house because it has an XYZ realtor sign in the yard, or I'm not going to buy that house because it's got so-and-so's sign in the yard. Very rare day. Yes, it's possible that an agent has pissed off some buyer so badly that they won't buy a house that has their listing, but that's also very rare. But definitely no buyer has ever bought because of the sign. And I would suspect very few buyers, if any, have ever not bought because of the sign. So there it is, folks. You can make the choice. You can ride that train as long as you want, or you can get off it anytime you want. The minute you want to stop the train and sell your house, get a hold of your broker and find out what price it needs to be at. And even if you can't agree on that price, just go lower. Just keep going lower. And eventually, I promise you'll hit the right number and it'll sell and you'll be out, because it's never going to sell for more than it's worth. It's probably another real estate truth, but we'll talk about that another day. So don't shoot the messenger. And make your choice and be okay with it. That's enough for today. Hey, real quick. If I told you that you could make more money and avoid a whole bunch of headaches the next time you sell, you'd probably want in. Well, Living to Listing is the online course to teach anybody to become an expert at turning any property into the perfect listing. You'll learn how to eliminate countless problems so it sells faster and, pay attention, for more money. We've identified and solved the most common problems that always seem to show up, usually during inspections and appraisals, and cost you thousands of dollars or maybe even the entire deal. But as we've learned, the best way to solve a problem is just to avoid it altogether with perfect prep. In Living to Listing, you'll get hands-on checklists and resources for all parts of the process, along with short videos from me walking you through every step of the way. And here's my promise. If this course doesn't meet your ridiculously high standards, just tell me. I'll give you all your money back and let you keep the course. Doesn't get any better than that. So check out the free preview videos that we've opened up over at livingtolisting.com. That's livingtolisting.com. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for sticking around. Hopefully you got something out of today's topic, or maybe, you learned a thing or two or had some fun at least. Either way, before we go, a quick reminder that the Talking Realty podcast is brought to you by the Ohio Property Group, a family-owned brokerage serving all 88 Ohio counties with realtor services. If today's conversation sparked a new idea, answered a burning question, please don't keep it to yourself. Share this episode with friends and family, and let's spread the word. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Talking Realty podcast. Give it a quick rating. By the way, if you have any questions, any topic ideas, or any special guests, or you'd like to see me dressed like Santa Claus, whatever, look in the show notes or head over to talkingrealty.com. You'll find my contact information plastered everywhere. But in all seriousness, if you just have a question you want me to answer, fire away. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks again for tuning in. Until next time, keep making smart moves in your real estate journey. For the Ohio Property Group, this is Glen Whitten signing off. And remember, you could sell it. We can help.